Maybe we should allow a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know we're allowing some additional time just for everyone to get connected to the pre-conference walkthrough for the home ownership language access and targeted outreach request for application. So we're just going to give it a few more minutes to allow everyone the opportunity to join today before we get started.
Oops.
And for those that you have joined, thank you for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon.
Kim, I'm not seeing anyone else waiting, so I think we're probably okay.
Okay. Lisa, do you want to go ahead and get started? It's 3:03, or do you want to wait till 3:05?
No, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that I have not met, I'm Kim Freeman, the Assistant Director to Homeownership Programs. I want to welcome you again for joining us this afternoon on Wednesday to go over the request for application for the home ownership language access and targeted outreach. Our goal today is to walk through the solicitation with you, answer your questions, and give you as much information as we can. I do want to acknowledge that this call is being recorded. It will be posted to our website along with any of the questions that we received today and the questions that we received through January 10th of 2023. I also want to just acknowledge that for our partners, you have seen us post a few solicitations. We have a couple requests for applications posted to our website. There is a NOFA, a Notice of Funds Availability for our homeownership development dollars. We also understand that during the holidays, it's probably not the best time for solicitations to be posted, and more importantly, to be our partners to be applying for these funds. So I just want to call that out and acknowledge it. It's not the best timing, but we are working as hard as we can to get these funds ready for you to apply. Again, we're going to walk through this. The RFA is posted on our website along with all the exhibits. Lisa is our procurement specialist working on this particular solicitation, and she will be your single point of contact, which her information and the website or the email address is listed on the solicitation. And with that, I'm happy to turn it over to Lisa, who will share her screen and we will walk through the solicitation. Alicia Howell is on as well, and many of you know her, so she's going to be monitoring the chat. We also have Talia Concravis, who is the Homeownership Division's Operation and Policy Analyst with us. So we have plenty of OHCS staff here to help us monitor everything and make sure that we answer and catch all the questions. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I will share my screen now and pull up the RFA. Okay, can you see it? Okay, great. Okay, as Kim mentioned, my name is Lisa Semino, and I am the procurement specialist working on this RFA with home ownership. So the first thing I want to do is go through the schedule. The closing date and time is January 23rd at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on here is my contact information with the email address. And please submit all your questions and your application to this email address. And if you have any questions prior to the closing date and time, go ahead and email me at this address and I will get right back to you. I check the contract inbox all throughout the day. Okay, let's see. Let's Go down. If at any point you have questions, feel free to stop me and ask your question. This is a casual pre-conference, so we welcome your questions. All the attachments and the exhibits are listed on the agency website. You will find them there with the RFA, as well as the sample grant agreement. Okay. So Kim, did you want me to speak to this part at all, or?
Sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay.
I can go ahead and speak to this just to give you a little history
Okay.
around this particular solicitation. So these funds for this current solicitation are a result of the task force addressing racial disparities in homeownership, known as JARDO. It's one of the acronyms. And really this particular set of funds is to help our partners with services to increase access for homeownership assistance programs, reaching communities of color, populations that have been wow, that's a big word this afternoon.
I did the same thing earlier.
Disproportionate rate of renters and that we're trying to get into home ownership. And so this is just, I have to say, I think a great opportunity for partners to increase access for any of the information that you have to reach communities that we're not currently assisting or have a greater impact to assist them in the future. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Okay, we will be doing multiple awards for this project. And let's see, just a second, okay, I want to go over this schedule with you. Although we did talk about the closing date, I just want to communicate that the last day to ask questions will be January 10, 2023 at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please, if you have any questions, make sure that you send them by 4 p.m. on January 10th. All questions will be answered and posted no later than January 16th, 5 p.m. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, the closing date is January 23rd, 2023 at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this solicitation is on a short timeline. So I anticipate scoring the applications and having the evaluation meetings, all of the process and procedures done as soon after January 23rd as possible. Okay, just here it just talks about how I am your single point of contact, and all questions must come to me. Please do not contact the program staff because we are required to have all questions in writing, and I will work with the program staff to achieve answers to your questions and then follow up with you and post them. Okay, so moving along, we have definitions. Let's see. And I recommend that you spend time reading the overview so you have some background information on this project, as well as the available funding. I highlighted the available funding because, like I said, there will be multiple awards, and and here you must be an eligible agency. So it's very important that you make sure that you meet the criteria for eligible agencies. And it's down further here in the RFA, and I'll point that out to you when we come to it. Okay, scope of work. This is going to speak to what will be needed for this project. Targeted outreach and community engagement. And I think that said language access funds or language access, excuse me. Sorry, my mouse keeps sticking. Performance measures. We will have reporting requirements with this RFA, and they're stated in this RFA. I believe July 31st is one of the reporting requirements, 5 p.m.
Lisa, I would like just to let everyone know that we will just have one reporting deliverable in this solicitation. So there will not be a report due other than the final report in July.
Yeah. Okay, and here on section 3 are the minimum requirements. So please make sure that you pay attention to section 3 to make sure that you qualify for and submit all the requirements for this RFA. And they're listed here in bullets. The page limit is 10 pages single-sided or 5 pages double-sided. And once again, the attachments do not count towards the page count. Only the scoring criteria questions count towards the page count. Any pages over 10 single-sided or 5 double-sided will be discarded. So please make sure your application is within the page count. And if at any time you have questions about this part, please know that you can reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you. Okay, application form. We are asking for 1 electronic copy and to send it to the contract inbox. Here's the email address. And I will send you a receipt acknowledging that I received your application submittal.
Lisa, can you also call out, or I can call out too, when in the subject line,
Oh, right. Thank you.
please list the RFA, just as it says right here, RFA number 7344 in the subject line, because this does help our procurement team with the multiples of solicitations that come into this email box. If we can call out the exact solicitation that you are applying for, it is just really, really helpful. But the team also does a thorough review. So if by chance you forget, we're still going to find your application, but it is really helpful to list the solicitation number.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Lisa.
After the closing date, so the closing date is scheduled for January 23rd. If you have not received an email from me, say by the 25th, you should reach out to me. I've never missed an application, but I just want to be thorough. And given the volume of emails that we receive to that contract inbox, please feel free to reach out and confirm with me that I received your application. But hopefully that won't be needed because I'm pretty good about the acknowledgement. Let's see. Here it talks about section 3.3 application requirements. 3.3.1 talks about applicant information. This is the information that needs to go on the attachment A, which is the application and certifications sheet. So please make sure that all this information is on that sheet when you return it to the agency with your application. Okay, we talk about certificate of insurance, and there is insurance information in the sample grant agreement, which is, I believe, attachment C. And the insurance will be required once we have negotiated an agreement. So we are just letting you know now that we will be requesting insurance, and I understand the insurance companies are short-staffed, so it's taking a little bit longer to get proof of insurance. So I want to send out the insurance information as soon as possible so you can submit your request to your insurance company and get that to us so it doesn't, because we can't execute an agreement until we have that insurance information on hand. So I will be getting that information out to all the awardees as soon as possible.
Lisa, this is Kim. I probably should know this answer, but I'm going to ask it because we have existing partners on this call that have other grant agreements with the agency or specifically homeownership programs. Can we use an existing insurance certificate that we have, or we will have to have a new one that goes with this specific new grant agreement?
Kim, when we determine who the awardees will be, I will take that list and I will go into the database to see what we have on currently on file. And then I will just follow up with those who we still need that information from. So yes.
Okay,
And
thank you.
if we should need a different type of insurance though, compared to what they already have on file, that piece I will follow up with them on. Okay.
And that was the question in the chat too. So
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Questions. We've already went over all of that. I'm only highlighting the areas in which I feel are relevant to your application submittal. But of course, you can ask anything. Yeah, it's just the process. Okay, the evaluation process. So we will be having a competitive scoring process, and the minimum score is you must receive at least 50 points to qualify for a reservation of grant funding. And so it's important that when you answer your questions, you are very thorough in your response, because your response is what is graded or scored, I should say, scored. So please try to put as much information as you can with your response. And like I said, if you have any questions about any of the questions, let me know. There is a total of 3 questions for 75 points, maximum points. The agency does reserve the right to have a tiebreaker. And if we have a tiebreaker, we will follow up with those applicants on that process and procedure. If we do have a tiebreaker, we will compile the scoring criteria points with the tiebreaker points to determine ranking. If we don't do tiebreakers, we'll just determine ranking by the scored criteria.
Lisa, can I ask you a question that came in the chat?
Of course.
It says for those that get awarded, is a minimum award amount that will be granted?
I wasn't sure. Kim, do you want me to announce that?
Yeah, I believe it's in the RFA. It's 76,000.
That's
Yes.
the maximum. I mean, that's the maximum. Is there a
That's
minimum?
the maximum.
Yes,
They're asking if
76,000.
there's a minimum amount.
Minimum. Well, I mean, if you feel that 70, let's just say you feel you have a project in mind or something that you know is $50,000, I would say definitely apply for that. Honestly, our goal is to have all of this funding be awarded out. So please make your project worth what you would like to do. We did not talk about a minimum dollar amount, again, because we want to hear from our partners on what would work best for you.
Right. Thank you, Kim. Okay, so here's just the breakdown in the scoring criteria. And as I mentioned earlier, and Kim talked about the lateness in getting this RFA posted, we're very fortunate that housing has the funding available to have so many projects, but at the same time, we're trying to do our due diligence and get them out the door as soon as possible. So I will be working with home ownership staff to score the applications and to expedite the award process. We want to get the money out to the communities as soon as possible. Let's see, business registry. I think the rest of this is template language. Let me just double check. Yeah, looks like that. Alicia, do you have any other questions or for me?
No, there are no other questions in the chat.
Okay, well, how about the audience? Any other questions?
So they can unmute and ask questions directly?
Yes. Is that okay, Kim? Okay.
Yes, please.
Hi, I have a question. I think it's similar to what Sonia just put in the chat. In thinking about the type of expenses that are allowable, we host an annual Latino home fair. Would the marketing and outreach and costs for that event be something that's eligible under this RFA?
Good question. I'm looking at, hold on, I'm looking at the objectives. Available funding. I think I will need to research that one and get back to you. Would you mind sending an email with that? And so we will research that and get back to you as soon as possible.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you. It's Becky
Thank
Lee
you.
from Hacienda CDC.
Okay, thank you.
Becky, can I ask a clarifying question? I know Hacienda has done a home buying fair as long as I've been at the agency, which is 10 years. And I'm going off memory, but I believe during your home buyer fair, you're providing education or other events. And events is probably a very broad word. So other
Workshops.
educational workshops, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah,
During your home buyer fair, correct?
that's right.
Okay, all right. Because I'm just reading through the activities. And
Yeah, it hadn't occurred to me, and I was looking through the activities, and then I think it actually might as far as outreach, but
yeah, and
yeah.
And under 4, I would say under activities, under targeted outreach and community engagement, to me that fits in number 4, but I would like to converse with Lisa and the team just to be sure that I'm reading that correctly, but that's
Okay.
where I see it fits.
Great, that's what I was thinking as well. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the other question I have is, if we have new tools to support home ownership, the creation of those materials in multiple languages would be covered under the translation of
Yes.
those materials, correct? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
I have another one in the chat, Lisa.
Okay.
Can you cover the type of expenses that are allowable with this RFA? And can some of the dollars be used to contract part of the work out?
Yes, on the contract out for sure. So, and I think that question came from Sonia, right? Sonia, is it in reference to like target outreach? Or is it more around like language access, like translation of documents or putting in, translating information on the website?
Hi. So potentially both, and they would be different entities, right? So I was thinking potentially like a marketing campaign that's very specific to the Hispanic community or to the African American community that it's above and beyond what we have been able to do already, and so that could be something that gets, contracted out, or partner with another organization or a translation services to really do extensive translations of beyond some of the things that we already have. So that was one of my questions. And then I put another question also related to expenses. So this year we increased our language access by contracting a third-party on-demand service. Can we, if we were awarded this, could we use it to pay for a few months of that service, or not? I mean, it sounded like it's okay to, that it doesn't have to be everything new. It could be existing initiatives. But I wanted to double check on that.
Sonia, I would almost give the same answer I gave Becky. Where I see your question is a number 2. But I think we should just double check on that. Number 2 under activities of outreach and community engagement, where it talks about utilizing the funds to enhance existing resources by adding like closed caption or subtitles or other interpretation to existing materials. So I think it probably could go there, but let's just double check on that.
Okay, perfect. And then I know that the time frame for spending is really short. What's the what will be the starting point for the expenses? Because sometimes the state opens opportunities that once awarded, an expense can go back basically if it fit what it was, the type of expense that needed to be, and if it fit what was proposed on the grant, of course. But what's the time frame on this one?
I'm sorry, Sonia, you kept breaking up, so I didn't hear the time.
It's the time frame of the grant agreement.
Oh, okay.
That's one thing I did not print, Sonia, so I
Okay.
apologize for that. One thing that I do want to elaborate, and we did not cover that, so my apologies, but it is in the solicitation. So yes, this is a short time frame to expend the dollars. The good thing is we have what's called current service level funding already approved in our 23-25 biennium. So we will, even though these funds need to be expended by June 30, 2023, if you have not fully expended those funds, we will do a grant amendment to extend those funds over into the 23-25 biennium. So you would not lose any funding that you are awarded. And I'm not sure if there's a start date in the grant agreement, but normally expenditures cannot start until we have an executed grant agreement.
And that's how it's written.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And we'll still follow up on your question,
Yes.
Sonia, as well.
Any other questions?
I'm not seeing any. Sonia, you asked all your questions, right? That you had in the chat. I just want to make sure we got them all.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing new, Lisa.
Okay. Okay. With that said, Kim, do you have anything you want to share before?
I just want to make sure, does anyone have any questions? We didn't go over them, but any questions on the exhibits that are posted?
Yes.
Hearing none, I'm going to take that as no one has any questions, which
Okay.
that's
Oh,
totally fine. Go ahead.
I do have one question. Sorry, I was on mute when I started talking. I was looking, so one question about the chart that has languages spoken by county. Do we have to demonstrate in the RFA that one of these languages are targeted, or if we know that we've got a population within the communities that we serve that would be better served by more materials or workshops and different languages, we can propose that, or do we need to relate it back to this chart?
Yeah, the chart was just more, I think, for information purposes, just so everyone could see the information that we had. So it's more of a resource, but you know your community and your needs, and that's what we're wanting to hear from you, our partners, is what's needed in your community, because you're going to know that better than we do, right?
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask the same question Scott did, which was, it sounded like what you said is funds should be expended by June 30th, but they are able to be expended if they're not fully expended. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, through
Yes.
an amendment.
Mm-hmm. So what I want everyone to understand, even though it's a short time frame, you are not going to lose any funding. So if you're awarded the full $76,000 and you only expend $50,000 through June 30th, 2023, we'll do an amendment and you still have those additional resources beyond that date. And it's just an amendment that we have to do. It's because we crossed the biennium and these are general fund dollars, but no one is going to lose any funding. So I just want to make sure everyone's really clear about that.
Thank you for pointing that out, Kim.
And was that the question in the chat too? Oh, perfect. Okay. Great.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more question, sorry.
Okay.
Is there any kind of geographic considerations for this RFA? So, for example, are you looking at funding a limited number of organizations for each county, or there's aims of funding throughout the state, or there's no geographic consideration at all?
Well, Sonia, our hope is that we have a really good statewide coverage of these dollars. With this being our first solicitation around this type of funding opportunity, this is going to be a learning opportunity for us in homeownership programs along with our partners, just to see what the needs are, again, that are in your community. And so we're hoping to gather that information from partners and then look to our next solicitation in the 23-25 biennium with plans to do more outreach and to see what's truly needed in developing either a continuation of this particular set of funding, or if there's additional funds that meet the funding criteria of these dollars as well. So I think it's a really, it's going to be a learning opportunity for us. And as always, we appreciate feedback, on what works well and what does not work well. So I hope that answers your question, but we don't have any specific dollars for, let's just say, okay, in the Central Oregon region or the Southern region of the state or the metro area. We don't have anything established there.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Lisa.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you all doing?
Good. I'm glad to see you were able to join us today.
Yes, thank you. I actually, I have a question. I'm not sure if I missed this, but what about if we're not quite, even though we serve communities, especially within African communities that have different languages, but we're just not honed in on that yet, but I know it's going to be needed. But what about if we just want to use the funds for outreach only, like our fairs, like our homelessness? Can we do that without the interpretation or language piece?
Yes, you
Okay.
have the ability to ask either for the targeted and outreach or translation. So you can select both of them, or you can select just one of them. Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry about
And
that.
thank you. We did not make that clear. So thank you for that.
Okay, good. Thanks. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. And I see Kimberly has her hand up as well. Welcome.
I do. Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
My question is, with regard to translation, is there someone at the state that will end up reviewing our translated documents if we're awarded the funding? Because I know that like there's different levels of translation. And I'm not sure if the state has specific requirements for how well that translation is coming across in a written format, or is that just up to us if we want to hire like a professional company to help us with the translation that we feel we need? Does the state review these translated documents?
Good question.
That's an excellent question. And Kimberly, to be honest, I think we need to take that one back and have some conversation around that, and potentially even, you know, have a conversation with the Department of Justice, our DOJ attorney. I know like internally at OHCS, we have staff that have the skills and certification to translate documents that we can use here at OHCS, but I don't know where that approval process comes outside of OHCS documents. So I think we need to get some, that's a great question, and we need to get a true answer on that.
Okay, thank you.
Kim, I'll work with you and we'll get the answer, and then I will follow up with you and then post it in the Q&A.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, do we have any other questions?
There's nothing new in the chat, Lisa.
Okay. All right. So from this point forward, just keep watching our website, because I will post addendums and the Q&A to the website. There won't be anything posted until next week, so we have a few days until then. In the meantime, you have my contact information, and please feel free to reach out and contact me, and I will always follow up with you. And if it's not a procurement related question, I will follow up with Kim and Alicia from Home Ownership, and then get back to you on the answer. Okay.
And Lisa, before we go, can I just make sure, Kimberly, your hand is still up, and I'm going to assume that we're okay, but I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry, I don't have more questions. I thought it came down. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. I just wanted to be sure.
Okay, thank you for your participation today and your interest in this project, and we look forward to receiving your applications. And in the meantime, be safe and stay warm and dry out there. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.